What's good? It's your brother PromoatBlack. I know living in a system can be real wax. I'm gonna give you the tax so you know how to react. This is Homestead with PromoatBlack. All right, guys. Today I want to talk to you about my solar. I'm really a big advocate on solar. Living in Colorado, it's a very pro-solar state, so I reap the benefits of that. But in living off grid, solar is just pivotal and is a must-have if you want to live off grid and be comfortable. When I first came out here, I was told that some people out here live like it's the 1800s. I told my wife, like, hey, as Black Americans, I'm not trying to go back to the 1800s, so we're not living like that. But he meant from a standpoint of people not having power, people needing to use candles and things of that sort. So I told my wife that a goal of mine living out here, as far as keeping her and my family comfortable, was I want to be as comfortable out here as I was when I lived in an apartment. So the type of solar I have 2,000 amps per battery, and I have 6 batteries. So that makes it a total of 12,000 amps is what my system produces. With those 12,000 amps, I'm able to run tablets. I'm able to run my kids' little systems. But more importantly, I'm able to run all my household appliances, my refrigerator, my oven. I even have a portable washer and dryer. So I'm going to talk to you about all those things in this part, in this series of mine, this solar series. So this part one, we're going to discuss the array and how I have my home system set up. In part two, we're going to talk about my portable solar panels that complement my EcoFlow generator and battery. And I'll give you guys a whole breakdown of that. Very good and useful for in the wintertime. Also, lastly, is my rechargeables. I'm gonna do a whole rechargeable section because, like I said, not living in the 1800s, so I have rechargeable light bulbs, I have rechargeable lighters, I have rechargeable ceiling fan. So because I'm able to produce my own power, I'm very, very big on having appliances and things that I can recharge and reuse, especially for my nighttime lighting. So I have lights in every room in my house at nighttime. So, like I said, this ain't the 1800s out here. I'm going to show you how to live off grid comfortably with this solar setup. So, the company my wife and I decided to go with was Renogy. We did some research as far as affordability, what their prices were in Colorado. I want to give you guys a rough overview of like what a basic solar system should consist of. So, you're going to have your solar panels. Those solar panels are going to connect to some sort of charge controller, and that charge controller is going to connect to a battery. This is called DC power. This is when you want to harness direct current power from your battery. Direct current is more so used to run smaller appliances, so this was more so how our setup was in the RV. The other way you can set up your solar is for AC power use, and AC just means alternating current. It's the one that can vary. It can handle various voltages and is more so used in homes and businesses. It's more so to power your appliances, your home appliances. So we're going to get into that, but you can buy that. The difference is inverter versus not having an inverter. Working with solar is cool because it teaches you a lot about electricity. For instance, this is the Ohm's law and the power formula. My wife and I use this a lot when setting up our solar system as far as when determining what we needed, like as far as if we want to set our panels up in parallel or series based on how many watts and volts we needed to produce. And the watts and volts breaks down based on what type of power you want to use, like we discussed earlier, as far as DC and AC. So normally one may require more watts, another may require more amps, and another may require more volts. But this equation is interchangeable, and so it's helped us a lot as far as understanding what our system can produce, and eventually in increasing our capacity and what we could produce, and as far as just making it stronger and upgrading it. So let me give you the different pricings and the variations you can get to start off. You can start off with your panels and a charge controller, or you can start off with ready-made kits. 2 100-watt panels, when I first was getting solar, were $100. Now it's about $175. So note that, things go up with inflation. Prices do change when it comes to solar. I find that a good time to purchase my solar is in the middle of summer. Amazon has excellent summer deals on solar accessories and panels and cords and charge controllers and anything you could use. I purchase Renogy products, and I get those shipped and delivered through Amazon. So you can get a kit with 2 panels, the charge controller you'll need to start off with, as well as a battery. And that kit would cost you $615. If you wanted to get that same kit but add 2 more panels to it, it'll cost you $637. I bring up this kit because this is what I recommend. Like I said, it has changed. Ours was just the 4 panels, a charge controller, but we didn't get the battery. So I think the battery is a good addition because you can always come back and add on solar panels or change up your charge controller. Either way, it's a good place to start. So that leads me to, when we moved into our RV, we have these 4 panels. We bought a decent size array with this. We found that, over time that, maybe the power was a little lacking. We wanted to get back to having the 6 panels we set out for. So when we added those 2 panels, like I said, I bought the 4 in a kit, and then we came back later and bought 2 more panels. We greatly increased our power output. The wattage, like I said, that 600 watts just made such a big difference for what the solar was producing. Could have had something to do with how we had them set up. They were on top of our RV, so we got good sun in the afternoon, but toward the late afternoon, evening, that's when it would kind of give out on us. So when we moved into the house, as you can see here, we set it up outside the house, and I was able to turn it. But eventually, like I said, once we got the 6 panels, we wanted to upgrade, and that led me to this. This is the eco-worthy solar panel dual access tracking system. It has a wind sensor. It also tracks the sun throughout the sky, so it'll turn from the east to the west throughout the day. Really awesome contraption. Was very happy with it. Easy setup. As you can see here, we have to just start with the base of it, so we set that up. Then we had to set up all the arms and extensions. You could also see that controller box. It came with its own charge controller. We had it set up on a cement, like a block of cement that we kind of screwed into to make sure that joker was solid. But unfortunately, the wind pushed it over, and thus that led us to having to dig it into the ground. We did another layer of quickcrete under the solid block of concrete we already had. We already drilled it into. And that took us getting some different tools and drill bits and things of that nature. So it always goes back to homesteading and being self-sufficient and doing it, doing what you got to do on your own. But yeah, I really enjoy this setup system because it tracks it, and I didn't have to get out there and manually turn things myself anymore. We originally had our system set up in parallel. It's true that you get a lot of amps. The voltage does remain constant, but something that is really interesting that actually happened to us is that, we ran into such a high voltage that it would burn through cords, and it would overly charge some of our charge controllers. So that's actually how we lost, I'm not going to say lost, but our smallest charge controller when we were upgrading to 6 panels. The parallel was almost too strong, and thus we needed to switch over to series. And with the series, we were able to get a higher voltage, but it was a little safer because it's at a lower current. So with the cords and things we had available, it was just less wear and tear on those, and they went perfect with our 60 amp charge controller, that MPPT, which is just a stronger, I want to say it's twice as strong as the original PMW charge controller we had. A great way to think about series and parallel, as far as parallel, is that it's like individual panel, where a series is like a grouping of panels. When we had our 6 panels, the way you hook them up in series is you hook up all the negatives from 3 panels together, and those will be your negative panels. And then you hook up 3 panels together, and then you hook up all the positives of those panels. And thus, you get a mix of what we call a series, where you're grouping the panels by 3s. 3 panels for one section, which in this case is our grounding, and then you have another 3 panels for our positive. And that allows us to get more energy out of each panel without running the risk of burning through cords or burning up our charge controllers. And when I say burn through, I mean more so of a overheating. It's not going to burn down your house or anything like that. You just may, smell a little smoke if it's like too much voltage. That's why checking that equation is so paramount as you're tinkering with your system, as you're upgrading your system and figuring out which way works best for you based on what you're buying. For us, it was putting our panels in series. It helped control things so that it wouldn't we wouldn't have too much power flowing through the cords that couldn't be dealt with. However, a new charge controller greatly helped minimize that fear we had of things getting burnt through. This is a pure sine wave 1000-watt inverter. As I stated, this is what you need to switch over to AC power in order to plug in your TV, Nintendo Switches, tablets, computers, things of that nature, refrigerator, appliances. It's just the base level. Like I stated, there's kits where it has a 750 watt. We were able to get the 1000 watt in our first kit. So I showed you guys the other inverter. This is the inverter that we upgraded to. This is a 3000 watt pure sine wave inverter, 120 volt DC and 110 volt AC, 60 hertz. And this thing is heavy duty, high powered. We're able to run pretty much all the electronics and appliances I told you guys about at the beginning of the video. Thanks to this, the wattage explains a lot. We can run items 1500 watts or more. We do have to keep track of what we're running when we're running things simultaneously, but for the most part, it can handle it. My child can be on the switch. My wife can be baking something in the oven. We just have to pick and choose, what we want. But normally about 2 to 3 items. Like I said, the refrigerator is constantly on. And so, yep, this is the DC connectors, just like on the 1000 watt. You're connecting that to this connects to the batteries. And these are your AC connections. As you can see, we have a plug for our electronics, for the refrigerator, for our TV, things like that. So this is the Renogy 60 amp MPPT charge controller. As I told you guys, we're coming from the solar panels from outside into the charge controller. Let me pop this open for you guys so you can see the connections. So we have the solar panels who connect the positive and the negative. And then we have connections, positive and negative, coming out to my batteries. And so all of these batteries are connected. These are those 200 amp hour batteries I told you guys about, the Renogy batteries. They're a great brand, great batteries. All of that connects. We're connecting these in series, the positives and the negatives, all connected in series back to the inverter so we can have our AC power. So the batteries power the inverter as well as the charge controller. And the charge controller every 28 days recharges and refills this entire system to make sure I have access to 12,000 amps consistently every month. And real quick, I wanted to show you guys this panel on the charge controller. Very informative. It tells me what my solar is getting. Right now I'm getting 51.1 volts, aka 256 watts of solar right now. And so even though I'm getting the 600 watts from the panels after it's all converted and used, this is what's all going into the battery, and the battery's holding it. The battery's holding 14 volts and 17.5 amps. That puts me at 100%. And like I said, it'll do this. This light will blink when it's overcharging, when it's doing its 28-day supercharge. A supercharge is really good because it just solidifies that power where it lasts all way into the night. You could be up 2 o'clock in the morning watching a movie just fine with this system. Lastly, I wanted to come on and state that I didn't want any of the pricing to be intimidating to you as far as making it hard to start. You can buy these things in pieces. The most expensive part for me were the batteries. The batteries, as you can see, they were $351 a piece, and I got 6 of them bad boys. That's roughly $2,100 at the time. I want to say a few of them may have cost me $400, $450. Like I said, it varies by time of year when you're able to afford them and when they have deals. But in the end, like I said, it's very worth it. The only requirements is that you have something to charge as far as the solar panels, something for your charge to go into, which would be the battery. The part that you can kind of skim on or maybe take your time on would be the inverter, depending on where you're at. If you're just camping, it's not a necessity. If you really are trying to set up an alternative source of power for your home, or even some sort of hurricane security system, just in case something happens, you have an alternative power source, I would definitely invest in the inverter, which is why I recommended what I did recommend to you. Even though it's $637, you get the battery, you get an inverter, you get panels, you get kind of everything that you would need. But like I said, you can buy those things separately as well. So you can build up your panels. Like I said, I bought mine. I had a 4-pack kit, but you can buy them 2 at a time. You can buy the batteries 1 at a time. So just take your time with it. But if you want a substantial source of power, as far as me running appliances in my home, the 12,000 amps was more than sufficient for any home appliances I wanted to run, and that's why I had to invest in the added inverter. That 3,000 watt inverter is a little pricier as well, but it goes a long way towards setting up a permanent home power source. And I'd like to just take the time out to say thanks to Renogy. It's been a really solid product. Haven't had any complaints with the products. I haven't had them break down on me. There's a few things that may need some maintenance, but for the most part, everything has worked just fine. I had to switch out those charge controllers, but that was more of my error on my part because we just increased our amperage so quickly that we didn't monitor it appropriately, and knowing that we needed to upgrade to a better charge controller. But in the end, we got the better charge controller, which I think comes standard now. So with that 60 MPPT becoming standard, that's really the charge controller you need to run high power things. You would just have to get your batteries and inverter system around it up to par in order to produce power for your home. Once again, I'd like to thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. This has been quite a few years in the making. I've been out here since 2021. This is 5 years in the making. So I myself have had to build up this solar system. We started out with the panels. I've had to work various jobs and do different odd jobs to get batteries paid for. But in the end, we got a system set up that's substantial. And like I said, going forward, I'll be talking to you guys about my generator, as well as the rechargeables that I use to light my house at night, give us a ceiling fan in the summertime, things of that nature with that AC power. Once again, like and subscribe. Thanks for being here. Peace.